Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greer with Secure Content Technologies, and I am really excited to be here with Tony Anscombe from ESET. He is the Chief Security Evangelist. I think we've got a really great discussion topic today. So, Tony, welcome.
Hey, good to be here, Karen.
Thank you. So, I think our main area of interest today is zero trust or zero-day threats. And that is something I'm seeing wildly in my customer base and hearing a lot about it in the news. And I know that that's something that does keep security professionals up at night. I would like to have your take on it. What are your recommendations for how they can be prepared, how they can detect it, and things along those lines? I think that would be a good way to kick us off. Like, what are you seeing with these types of threats?
Well, 0 days are a growing issue, and there's more and more of them, unfortunately, that appear into the market. I think I saw a note recently that something like half or just over half of all CVEs, i.e. all known vulnerabilities, start their life as a 0 day, which is somewhat frightening, which is probably what's keeping all those cybersecurity people awake at night. But there are ways to mitigate a 0 day. The first thing that people need to do is make sure you understand what it is you're trying to protect. So i.e. have a complete inventory, a complete audit of your entire environment. And I mean all of your environment, down to the webcams, to laptop servers, whatever it might be, all need to be on that inventory. And then you need to have really good vulnerability and patch management so that where there are known vulnerabilities, they are patched. But more to the point, you often see that these things get stringed together. So somebody will exploit multiple vulnerabilities to exploit a server. And it's the stringing together. If one of those is patched, that breaks the string. So there are certainly good ways to do it. And of course, have advanced cybersecurity technology in place.
So I was reading a little bit about Tool Shell. Is that an example of a 0 day? Is that something different?
Well, it's a great example of a 0 day because it's a vulnerability that was being exploited in the wild prior to it being known about, i.e. making it a 0 day. Now, fortunately, it was limited, and I say that because it affected SharePoint servers, and those SharePoint servers needed to be on-premise, so i.e. not the SharePoint servers that we all use in the cloud. So it was only a certain set of customers, but it was being exploited in the wild and is a perfect example. Now, the importance of the interesting thing about something like that was actually the attackers were stringing together multiple CVEs to exploit it. And actually in our own telemetry here at ESET, we detected it and blocked it without knowing what it was. So I detected the attack unfolding 2 days before it was actually known. So 2 days before it became a known vulnerability. So it actually shows that having good advanced technology in place that has 0 day detection in it is really important.
That's really impressive. And I see ESET in the news a lot about detecting things kind of before they've become a mass issue, right? You guys have really done an amazing job at doing that over the years.
We certainly have. I mean, you often get, cybersecurity vendors often talk about AI. We started using some AI technologies, early on in experimental ways in 1997.
Oh.
And just to put that in perspective, The Matrix as a movie came out in 1999. So I'm just trying to date it that actually we were looking at this stuff long ago. And it's the use of advanced technologies early on like that and our experience with it that helps us detect 0 days today.
It really kind of dates me. When you think of the 90s, you're like, oh gosh. They say if your birthday is in the 90s, like then you've got an issue. But so I'm also seeing and hearing a lot about how people are trading some of these vulnerabilities commercially and on the dark web. Is that a thing that you guys are seeing, like commonplace? And is there a way that companies can understand that and take additional methods to protect themselves?
Well, I think this is less of a thing about companies understanding this. I think this is an industry-wide issue.
Okay.
So, if you and I sat down and we found a vulnerability in a piece of software, what do we do with it? Now, the responsible thing to do with it is go and tell the person whose software it is under confidential disclosure, so that they could go fix it, create a patch, and everybody's safe. That's what should happen. But unfortunately, if you find a vulnerability in a piece of software, you go onto the dark web, somebody may well buy it from you. And then even worse than that, there are legitimate companies, say you didn't want to sell it on the dark web, there are legitimate trading companies that you can take it to, and they will go sell it on your behalf. And those are not dark companies, they're public-facing companies. And give you an example of that, a vulnerability on a mobile operating system such as Android that has no clicks involved in it being exploited will get you about $2 million. So it can be
Wow.
very profitable for somebody that finds a decent vulnerability, if that makes sense. And to me, that we should take some. This is a trade that certainly legitimate companies trading them should just stop. But somehow we need to stop the trade of them on the dark web as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that's emerging technology, right? The industry is ever changing. So I'm hoping that that's one of the next big things, is they can find a way to detect it on the dark web and stop that.
Yeah, but with the legitimate companies that do it that aren't on the dark web,
Right.
to me, that's legislation and regulation. That should just be made illegal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that a lot of these threats and the way they're getting into organizations, it's very sophisticated, and companies are usually somewhat short-staffed. They're going in a million different directions, and so resources are an issue. They're a struggle for companies, and how to acquire the right talent and skill set in order to build their protection internally. I'm really interested to hear more about like EDR and MDR and how those things can really bolster the security for companies without having to find headcount and talent and expertise.
So if you put in an advanced solution like EDR, so for anybody that doesn't know, it's Endpoint Detection and Response. What those systems do is they, rather than just looking at what you're processing, i.e. at the moment in time, i.e. files and things like that, or email at the moment in time on your device, which is what your anti-malware software does, EDR looks at everything running on your device. So every possible process, it logs it, it collects it. Now, that's a lot of data. And then through AI modeling back at an EDR server, what it does is it looks for anomalies in the traffic. Now, this is a very complex thing to be doing, and it requires a security analyst then to look at the alerts an EDR system brings up. And now to a medium-sized or smaller business, finding security analysts that understand how to do this is going to be challenging. Now, already in the cybersecurity industry, I think the last number I saw was there are 3 million open positions that can't be filled globally. And I think it said something like 400,000 of those were in the US. So this is a growing issue. So this is an enterprise grade technology that's coming down to smaller businesses. And the smaller businesses, unfortunately, do need it because of the threat of cyber incidents. So you mentioned MDR. Well, that's the managed version of EDR. And actually, I'd recommend, if I was a small business or a medium-sized business, I would actually employ an MDR service. So I actually outsource the function of EDR, because that way I get security analysts that are sat there all day, 24/7, monitoring my systems, yeah, and providing that security that I actually need, without me having to go off and try and find people in the market that are unlikely and probably going to be very expensive.
So I think one of the misconceptions a lot of people that I talk to have is, will an MDR service actually remediate the situation for you, remediate the threat? To what level are they able to choose how far they want you to do it? Like, maybe you could explain that piece of it.
Well, so that really depends on the agreement you have with your MDR provider. So EDR will have certain things that it should automatically clear up. So if some things you can turn and say, if you detect something like this, then automatically remediate, and these are the steps you do to remediate it. Now, if there's something a little bit more serious or suspicious that's unknown, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, and your office is closed, what you want is your MDR provider to actually turn and say, okay, there's a suspicious happening on this device, isolate the device. And isolate the device so it can't spread to anything else in the organization. But that type of mitigation is an agreement between you and your MDR provider. Are you paying 24/7 or are you paying business hours? What's the mitigation steps you've agreed with them up front, etc. So all those things need to be ironed out and worked out prior to you actually taking on that MDR provider and allowing them to service your security in that way.
That makes great sense. Thanks for making that more clear to all of us. So if you had one recommendation, perhaps, that you could make to cybersecurity professionals that are watching us talk today, what can they do to bolster what they're doing, to get their confidence level up, and how would you approach this market if you were you are a cybersecurity professional, but if you were advising someone watching today?
So I think the cybersecurity industry, from a professional standpoint like this, is changing somewhat. We were at once the IT, in the IT room down the hallway, and the geeky people that nobody wanted to speak to. Now we're not. The business clearly needs us, and we're part. Cybersecurity is pretty much at every corner of a business now. The one thing I recommend all cybersecurity professionals do, and it's going to make them feel slightly uncomfortable, unfortunately, is they need to go and engage more with the business. They need to understand what the business expects of the cybersecurity team, but also what the business's appetite for risk is. And then you build security to match the risk. Now, I say this because every business will have a different view on where their risk appetite is. What are you willing to do? Does it matter if your payment system goes down for a day? Does it matter if your invoicing system goes down for a day? Understand what the limits the business are willing to work to, and then build security and a resilience plan to match what the business expects and what the business actually needs to operate efficiently, and more importantly, profitably.
That makes great sense. And I had an example that came up in the past 3 weeks of a really good client. And they have an MDR solution in place, but they've also got other things kind of out there. So firewalls with one partner, email security with someone else, and they're getting hit, right, with things now. And suddenly now the business, the owners are like, oh, what exactly is our cybersecurity? What do we have in place? They were completely unaware. So I think that's great advice for the cybersecurity professionals that they hire to really engage the business and engage the management as quickly and as efficiently as they can in the process. That's amazing advice.
Yeah, like I said, it may make a few of those professionals feel a little uncomfortable, stepping into the boardroom or stepping into a senior management meeting and having those discussions, and they're awkward discussions maybe to have. But I think this is becoming more about risk than cybersecurity, and understanding the appetite for risk, I think, is crucial to going forward.
I think you're absolutely right. What a wonderful discussion. We kind of we're all over the place in a good way, and I think we covered a lot of really important topics.
We certainly did, and I reiterate what I said just a moment ago. If you're a small business or a medium-sized business, you really need to be thinking about MDR and getting advanced protection, because unfortunately, cyber attacks are getting way more sophisticated, and as we see far too many businesses getting hit, especially smaller businesses, in fact.
Yes, indeed. I'm seeing the same thing. We just had one reach out to us today who had clicked on something, and they got mailed. So, well, this was great. And I look forward to doing more of these with you, Tony, and covering the important topics. At the end, there'll be my contact information if anybody would like more information on MDR or EDR or any other solutions that you feel would be a good fit for your business. I look forward to talking with you again, Tony, and I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, likewise, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you.